What's the best way to organize your strength and conditioning sessions for jiu-jitsu? In what order should you train different qualities like explosive strength, power, accessories, or injury risk management work? Does the order even matter? In a word, yes, and I'll tell you why. Here are some important questions we need to ask ourselves when designing a strength and conditioning session for jiu-jitsu. Firstly, what's the technical demand of the exercise? If it requires a lot of coordination to perform, that's not something you want to be doing when you're tired because the quality is going to quickly drop off and you'll start ingraining sloppy technique. Garbage in, garbage out. Secondly, what's the relative injury risk of the exercise? Not all exercises are created equally, and some are much less forgiving than others. Messing up a heavy squat, clean, or deadlift is typically much riskier than, say, a bicep curl. So we don't want to be pairing riskier exercises with a fatigued state when technique and concentration are worse. It's just asking for trouble. Thirdly, what sort of outputs do you need to achieve to stimulate your targeted adaptation? For example, best practice tells us that if you're not moving the bar with intent at around 90% of your best possible speed on stuff like power, you're probably not going to move the needle and actually improve your power. Conversely, with stuff like hypertrophy, working at or close to failure where the bar speed basically slows to zero is actually a good thing. So you can see how scheduling hypertrophy work, then speed and power, wouldn't necessarily be a great idea. Fourthly, what's going to offer the biggest bang for our buck? Invariably, there are going to be sessions where we run out of time or we end up feeling like crap and cutting a session short. In anticipation of this, we want to schedule the most productive exercises per unit of time or effort earliest in the session and vice versa. Fifth, is there a potentiating effect? You might not know it, but if you lift with high speed and or load first, then perform traditional bodybuilding type work, there's a temporary window where you're able to recruit and fatigue more muscle, boosting adaptation. Importantly, this effect only works in one direction. Speed or strength, then hypertrophy works, but hypertrophy then speed doesn't, so order matters. Lastly, is there an interference effect? It's just a harsh reality that combining speed, strength, power, and hypertrophy work with endurance work switches on two competing genetic pathways at the same time. This isn't a disaster, as you can still make great progress in both areas, but it's important to note that the order matters. The negative effects of performing endurance work prior to speed, strength, and power are much greater than the reverse. If it sounds relatively complex to try and juggle all of these balls, you're right, it is. If you prefer not to spend a lot of time and effort to write a significantly worse program for yourself than I'd be able to do with my left nut, I invite you to give Jiu-Jitsu a try. All the thinking's done for you, you just need to train and we'll handle the rest. Right now, it's only $9.99 a month. Visit jackjitsu.net for more information. Thanks.